Hi there, and welcome to the psychology talk for the post-16 open evening at Tuxford Academy. So firstly, I'm just going to take you through a bit of an introduction about what psychology is, because a lot of students are unsure about what the subject actually involves. So it's basically the study of the brain and behaviour. So students will learn about why we behave the way that we do. So what we very much talk about is, why are people following other people in terms of their behaviour? Why do we copy other people? How does behaviour kind of originate? Why do people have addictions, mental health disorders? And we look at kind of the origins of those behaviours. And so there are lots of different topics that we study in psychology, all kind of looking at different explanations and different approaches, which means that psychology can actually lead to a really wide range of different types of career paths that students can sort of go forth into after they've studied at A level. So in terms of the course outline then, we are with AQA, they are our exam board, and it is a 2-year course. In the first year, it's kind of like the foundations of psychology. So we learn about the different approaches, we learn about how different groups of psychologists will explain behaviour. We look at things like memory, so we'll look at people's short-term memory, how many items can you recall, your long-term memory, is it limitless, or is there a kind of limit to the amount of information you can learn. We also look at things like eyewitness testimony, so if people were to witness an accident or to witness a crime, are we any good at actually reporting that accurately to the police? Why not? Psychopathology is all about mental health disorders, so we look at OCD, we look at depression, and we look at phobias, so we look at the cause of those, but also what treatments we can do for that. Biopsychology is all about your brain, your body, so we look at the different parts of your brain, what they're responsible for, how that influences your behaviour. We also look at how your brain can change, how it can adapt as a result of trauma or some form of accident. So that's kind of the first year we look at the kind of basis. And then in the second year, was a bit more biopsychology. So that's when we learn a little bit more about the brain, but it's no greater than kind of what we do at GCSE kind of level. We then look at schizophrenia. So we have a look at whether or not there is a reason for why people have schizophrenia. If there is a specific cause, we can obviously then look at a specific treatment. So we have a look at schizophrenia. I've written gender or relationships because we get to choose which one. Usually we pick relationships because it's got an interesting topic of theories for why people form relationships, how they break down. And we also look at the impact of the media, so how we have digital relationships online as well. And the same for addiction or forensics. Again, we pick addiction, but forensics is an option that we could or may change and choose to do. So with addiction, we look at why people have an addiction, what the different causes are for it, and how we can support and treat those people with addictions. In terms of the exam paper then, students will get given this at the beginning of year 12. There are 3 exam papers at the end of the year, and they are all equally weighted. So they are all 2 hours each, and they're all worth 96 marks. Paper 1 is kind of your year 1, your year 12 topics. So you have 4 sections, all worth 24 marks each. Paper 2 is a little bit of both. You have some year 1 and year 2 content in there. And then your third paper is what we do just in year 13. All of the sections in papers 1 and 2 are compulsory. And then in paper 3, it's the ones that we choose. So like I said earlier, we usually pick relationships, schizophrenia and addiction. So it is in a written exam. And the last kind of question that a lot of people ask me with this is, how big an exam is it? What are the marks like? So the biggest question you'll get is 16 marks. So it's not really that big an essay kind of question. It's roughly about 1.5 pages. But obviously we need to have that level of depth in there that you would expect from an A-level student. So that's what the papers look like. In terms of resources, psychology is a really popular A-level, so thankfully there are lots and lots of resources available. I've just put some images on the screen of the revision guide, the textbook, and then a sort of mini companion, which is a bit like an extra revision guide. These are not compulsory, so students do not have to buy them, but they do find, particularly the one at the top, the green-haired girl with the revision guide, they do find that quite a good support network to have at home. But obviously we've got them in class, so if students want to borrow the textbook, then we've got a class set that they can always use. We also share some wider reading. We've got a Twitter page, and on Microsoft Teams we have a page for each class, so we share that with them, and we share reading on there and resources on there for them as well. So they will also obviously be provided with resources in the lesson, but there are extra things that they can go and have a look at in terms of other support, really. In terms of our entry requirements then, so in English, we ask students to achieve a grade 5 and the same in maths or science. The reason that we ask for both is because obviously English, there's a lot of written element to the exam papers. There is an element of maths, 10% of the marks in psychology A-level is maths. Now it's no greater than GCSE, so it's usually things like percentages, fractions, ratios, etc. So it isn't anything more than what they would do at GCSE. We have occasionally had some students that have got a 4, and therefore we've supported them. We've allowed them on the course and we've supported them with a little bit of extra maths work just to consolidate that. The science bit is another option, either a 5 in maths or science, because of the biology involved in it. There's quite a lot of, in the biopsychology part, we learn about different parts of the brain, we look at neurons. So we have to, have a basis of science in there. So that's why that's one of the entry requirements that we have. But by all means, if your child or student is unsure whether or not they're going to get that grade, they can absolutely come and speak to me. We have, like I said, have a couple of students who sort of fall a little bit short of that. And they do not have to have done the GCSE in psychology. Obviously, it will help them, but they do not have to have done that. So any student that doesn't currently do psychology go on to do the A-level course. It does go alongside a lot of other things, psychology. So obviously as a faculty, we also teach sociology, health and social care, criminology. Criminology in particular, it kind of goes alongside with, because we look at some psychological theories. But there are other subjects outside of our faculty where this really does work quite well. So history, for example, biology, philosophy and ethics. There's lots of different ways in which psychology complements other subjects. So it is quite a good one to have with a combination of other subjects in other faculties. And then this is just a bit of information, particularly if your child hasn't studied psychology before at GCSE. So my name is Miss Ingram. I am the head of psychology. Miss Coomer is in the middle and Miss Allen there at the bottom. So if your student has got any questions at all about wanting to do psychology at A-level, then please just ask them to pop and see us, or you can get them to find out my email address and they can drop me an email and we'll do it that way instead. Thank you very much.